So training for me over the last few months has definitely had its ups and downs, as I'm sure it has for many people. There was quite a lot of strict restrictions here in the UK, which is where I live and train. So my actual training base, normally in Bath, has been closed to judo the whole time until now. So I haven't actually been able to train there. So me and my brother moved back home to our parents, and we were able to use our local judo club where we grew up when we were kids, where we trained. So that really saved us, because you had access to the gym, and we could use the mat area together. And then I had to kind of get a little bit, what's the right word? Creative. So I had to borrow judo mats from the judo club as well. So I had a little training partner, one of the lads that works with my parents in our garden centre. I was doing judo with him in the garden centre, FaceTiming Kieran, our Irish coach. And the sessions were great. It was a very strange environment, like being surrounded by cactuses and everything else in the shop. But we kind of couldn't really wait around for things to change. So I kind of had to take it into our own hands. So I was lucky in that sense, and we've been very lucky kind of to be able to kind of manage training. It's not been ideal at all, but I've been able to keep up a level of my strength and conditioning and my judo throughout the whole time. We've actually had a little glimmer of hope over the last month. So we had the first World Tour tournament in Budapest went ahead, which was a Grand Slam. I didn't attend the event because I didn't quite feel ready to be able to go to competition, but we actually had the European Championships last weekend, which was my first competition returning to the tour. Unfortunately for me, it didn't go to plan how I would want it to have gone, but it's about the process. I kind of needed to get back into that environment, into the competition situation. It's very, very different stresses than being at training. So even though it didn't go to plan, obviously we always want to perform well. It definitely has been a good tool to kind of get my foot back in the door and kind of analyze what needs to happen next. So I kind of made the plan of action, what I need more of, and I need to get abroad more for Randori, which is like our sparring training. I haven't been able to access that, and normally I'm away every single month on training camps, so I have to kind of find ways of getting away. And luckily there's a camp next week in Austria, so I'm heading over there. For me personally, having good judo in training needs to be transferred over into a competition sense. So you have to, for me, I have to train to be really aggressive. Judo is a combat sport. If I kind of am on the back foot, you will lose, you'll get thrown. And I need to kind of be in that mindset, and to get to that point I have to train at that. So that's why the training camps on the international circuit are so good, because I'm competing against the best girls in the world that also are in my weight category, so no one wants to lose. So you have to be like in that mindset all the time. So I haven't been able to do that for the last 8 months, and I can really feel that when I got to the Europeans, I was really nervous. Felt really good in the warm-up. My judo movement and my feeling is good, but it's that last kind of piece of the puzzle which I need to work on all the time, and at the minute it's just not quite there. So I'm really excited to get over to Austria next week, kind of get that aggression back up. And we've got the World Masters on the 12th of January, so I kind of need to do everything I can over the next 6 weeks to kind of get myself in the best spot I can and start working back to kind of being where I was at the start of this year. When we actually found out the Olympics had been postponed, if I'm honest, at that point it was actually a little bit of a relief, because for so long we'd been in limbo. There was all this hearsay in the media of what's going on, and no one actually really knew what was going to happen. So when we finally knew that there actually had been a decision made, I was devastated. I was so close to the end of qualification. I'm feeling the best I've ever felt in my career. We're nearly done. We're nearly over the end of the qualification, and then this happens. But it was, to start with, I just was glad that I knew where we stood. I think once that kind of relief was, and a lot of my friends did the same thing, we're like, finally, okay, we actually know what's going on. But then you have to kind of deal with the fact that you're staying in the sport for another year. You've got very much uncertainty at the moment around your training, about when competitions are going to begin. And there was definitely points that my motivation for training suffered because I didn't know when the competitions were coming. So me and my friends were having a conversation, you know, it feels a bit sick. You're kind of like really pushing yourself and hurting yourself in training. And for what? It's like this really weird kind of, you're trying to motivate yourself for those really hard, intense sessions, and you're doing them. But normally, kind of to take you to the next level, those competitions are my motivations. They're what pushes me. That's what's in my mind when I'm like hurting in a conditioning session. That's what I'm thinking of, you know. And I think that was kind of a process that a lot of people had to go through. You know, it's definitely up and down. You know, you're really upset because the Olympics is not going ahead. Our competition's going to go ahead. Then you kind of think you're kind of in the swing of training, and you know, it's very much been an up and down road of emotions throughout the whole year. But I'm just really excited that the competitions are back on for us in judo. And as soon as the Europeans were confirmed, it was amazing. You know, you finally got a goal. And it's the same for us with the Masters in January. I've got a goal. It's really nice that like training has a focus. At the moment, I'm sitting well in qualification for the games, and obviously after every competition that chops and changes. But after last year, which was my best ever year of judo, I'm in a really good position. Not safe in terms of qualification, but I'm not stressed, if that makes sense. But the way the end of qualification is looking for us is actually very different to how our year plan would normally look. So we've it's not just press pause and it's starting again where we left off. A lot of other events have been put in. So actually next year, before the games, potentially, we could have 2 World Masters, a European Championships, a World Championship 6 weeks out from the Olympic Games. So in terms of how a year would normally be periodized, where I get a lot of confidence from those periodized plans before the major tournaments, that's not really going to be able to happen. So in terms of kind of, you have to, for me, I've had to adjust and kind of accept that that's the situation. You know, I think the International Judo Tour are obviously trying to make up competitions and make back some of the money that they've lost. And it's tricky because we don't know when the competition is going to start really. You know, Masters is at the very start of January, but then for the next couple of months, we have no idea really what's happening yet. So I think it's going to be a big push right at the end. And for us, qualification will end at the end of June, only a month out from the Olympics. So it's very different to how I would have liked my preparation to have been for the Olympic Games. You know, it'd be nice to have ended qualification in April and had a really nice build up to the Olympics. But that is how it is right now. So, you know, we have to kind of adjust to it, deal with it, and then move forward. And, you know, Kieran, my coach, said, you know, it could be that you're Masters, European, World and Olympic medalist all in one year. You know, that could never happen. You know, that would be a first time. And I mean, fingers crossed, you never know, you know. So, you know, it's all about the way, kind of how you frame something, you know, how you look at it. So yeah, that's what we're focusing on.